She was lying in the middle of the street, bleeding, breath fading, her uniform torn and nearly unrecognizable in the dark. Cars passed, people stared, but no one dared to step closer. Until he did. A man feared by entire cities, a name whispered in shadows, the last person anyone would expect to stop. But the moment he knelt beside the injured cop, something shifted, something he had buried for years. Because he knew exactly what had been done to her and why. The question was, would revealing the truth save her life or destroy his? It had been a long, ordinary day. Officer Maya Thompson had finished her shift, walking the quiet streets she had patrolled countless times before. Known for her unwavering dedication and fierce sense of justice, she had always believed in the law and in the idea that doing the right thing would keep her safe. Her path home was familiar. The same flickering streetlights, the same narrow sidewalks, the same quiet hum of the city at night. Yet tonight felt different. Shadows seemed longer, footsteps echoed oddly, and a subtle tension hung in the air. Maya didn't notice the feeling at first. She was focused on the little victories of her day, the cases closed, the people helped, the difference she had made. Across the street, someone watched. A figure moving with purpose, observing every step she took. He was no ordinary man. His presence carried weight, fear, and power. For years he had been a ghost in this city, a name only whispered behind closed doors. And now, by chance or fate, their worlds were about to collide. Maya's walk, which had always been routine, was about to become a turning point. Something she couldn't have prepared for would shatter the illusion of safety she had relied on. And for the man in the shadows, a secret buried deep within him would be forced into the light, threatening to change everything he thought he knew about justice, loyalty, and his own humanity. In that moment, neither knew how life or death would decide the next step. The night was about to reveal truths that no one could ignore. Maya's footsteps echoed against the cold asphalt, each one a reminder of the hours she had spent protecting a city that often seemed indifferent to her efforts. She barely noticed the figure trailing her, moving with the precision of someone who had mastered the art of being unseen. Her instincts, honed through years of training, whispered a warning, but she pushed it aside. After all, she had walked this route hundreds of times before. Then the first blow came. Not physical, but the suffocating weight of the city's prejudice. A car screeched to a stop nearby, its occupant's eyes filled with suspicion, judgment, and something darker, entitlement. The driver leaned out, voice sharp and accusatory, questioning her authority as if her uniform alone was a lie. Maya's pulse quickened. This wasn't her first encounter with doubt or hostility, but tonight it felt amplified, deliberate, unavoidable. She straightened her shoulders, determined to remain composed, to remind herself why she had chosen this path, despite the risks. Moments later, the shadows shifted, and the unseen figure approached with a measured pace. He was a man whose reputation had sent shivers through every street, every alley, every law enforcement agency. A Mafia boss whose name alone could silence a room. And yet as he knelt beside her, it became clear that he too had been touched by the very injustice that Maya faced every day.
a system that punished those who sought justice and rewarded those who bent the rules to suit themselves. He assessed her quickly. Shallow breaths, fading pulse, uniforms torn. A victim not just of circumstance, but of systemic neglect, of biases that ran deeper than any criminal act. With each passing second, the danger grew, not only from the streets that had ignored her cries, but from those who would rather see her silenced. Every heartbeat was a reminder that life and death in this city were fragile, negotiable, and disturbingly dependent on the whims of power. And then, as the sirens wailed in the distance, a sudden realization struck Maya. Her vulnerability had exposed more than just her body. It had revealed a truth about the invisible forces shaping her world. The man kneeling beside her, feared by so many, held the key to that revelation. His eyes, once cold and calculating, now reflected a flicker of recognition, empathy, and the weight of shared understanding. But just as the tension reached its peak, an unexpected interruption arrived. Footsteps, louder this time, closing in from both ends of the street. Phones emerged, capturing the scene, documenting every second. The crowd began to form, whispers turning to shouts, each voice adding to the escalating pressure. Maya's mind raced. Would he act to save her, or would the very city that trained her leave her to its cruel realities? The answers were still unknown, hanging in the air like a storm about to break. And as both of them waited, poised on the edge of life and revelation, the night seemed to hold its breath, because what happened next would not only determine Maya's fate, but challenge the very system that had failed her from the start. The street felt impossibly still. Every distant siren and murmured whisper amplified in the darkness. Maya's chest rose and fell unevenly, each breath a struggle, her body trembling not just from pain, but from the weight of everything that had led to this moment. She had faced danger before, but never like this, never exposed so completely to a world that often judged her by the color of her skin, the badge she wore, or the assumptions others made about her worth. The Mafia boss's eyes were fixed on her, scanning for threats, for answers, for a way to fix what the world had broken. For years he had lived in a realm where power was the only currency, where morality was flexible and survival often meant crushing others. Yet here, kneeling beside a young officer bleeding in the street, he saw something he had long buried. An echo of injustice, of a system stacked against those who dared to stand for truth. A group of men approached from the shadows, tension crackling in the air like electricity. Their faces were hard, eyes devoid of empathy, and they had no interest in justice. Everything converged, the fear, the anger, the helplessness Maya had carried for years, and the boss's long-suppressed conscience. The first man lunged. Time slowed. Every instinct screamed, every muscle tensed. With a calculated force that betrayed both experience and urgency, he intercepted, shielding her from harm. The sounds of struggle, shouts, grunts, the scuff of shoes on asphalt echoed like a battle cry against injustice. And in those moments, Maya realized that the difference between life and death wasn't just luck, but courage, unexpected alliances, and the raw confrontation of a system that often failed those it was meant to protect. But the climax was not just physical. As he held her, steadying her faltering breath, the truth between them emerged. Her suffering was not isolated, and his power could either perpetuate the cruelty or become the force that exposed it. The weight of choice hung heavily in the air. And then, as the first rays of dawn began to touch the horizon, Maya's eyes met his, and a single thought crystallized. Would justice finally be served, or would silence claim another life? The first light of dawn painted the city in pale gold, washing over streets that had long carried shadows of injustice. Maya's breath steadied, the immediate danger passed, but the echoes of the night lingered. Pain, fear, and the harsh reality of a world that often turned its back on those who tried to uphold justice. The Mafia boss, once a figure of fear, now stood as an unexpected guardian, his hands marked by years of ruthless decision.